This is indeed a historic and a path-breaking visit. This visit will show perhaps the maximum interaction between a Prime Minister and a President of the United States. There are 5 broad areas which will be clearly covered. One, of course, is defense and strategic cooperation. The underlying aspect is that there is going to be much more strategic understanding between the two sides. Prime Minister of India will be the first leader in independent India to address the US Congress twice. They want to hear about the India story and they want to hear about Prime Minister's vision and his thinking. So this is indeed a historic and a path-breaking visit. And I use these terminologies by fully looking into them. You will see both on the substantive side and on the ceremonial side that it will be historic. As you are aware that this will be the third leader from independent India, that is in the last 75 years, who has been invited by the President to be the state guest. And that has many ingredients, including a formal ceremonial welcome at the White House. Then there will be, of course, the formal talks, and there will be a formal ceremonial dinner where you will see the top of the cream of United States attending. We have often seen, in fact, editorials are written on them subsequently. Then there is the ceremonial lunch hosted by the Vice President and Secretary of State. And of course, there is going to be the joint session of Congress, which Prime Minister will be addressing. There are 3 aspects of this which are very important. One, you will see the personal chemistry reflected in a number of interactions. In fact, this visit will show perhaps the maximum interaction between Prime Minister and President of the United States. Number 2, you will see that the next level of the partnership will be visible. Thirdly, if I may add that the global good, and as Prime Minister Modi has often described that this is a partnership for global good, that will also be very clearly visible. I'm going to avoid getting into specifics, but there are 5 broad areas which will be clearly covered. One, of course, is defense and strategic cooperation, which will be adequately reflected. Second is healthcare partnership and different aspects of that. We have just gone through the COVID and we can see that there is much more collaboration on affordable healthcare and affordable vaccines, medicines, etc. Third will be technology, and that is correlated with digital, startup, innovation, all interlinked. Fourth will be environment, energy, renewables. And finally, knowledge and education partnership. Again, which is a very, very critical area, and it also gets reflected in skill development, which is an important objective of the Prime Minister, and number of schemes are being implemented in India. As far as these areas are concerned, I think important ingredients on the base are that they are all people-oriented and development-oriented. And also, trust and confidence are important aspects of each one of them. And then they are targeted for global good, as I mentioned earlier. And the underlying aspect is that there is going to be much more strategic understanding between the two sides. There is a bipartisan excitement, if I may say, and this also reflects that US Congress actually was one of the early institutions many years back which started to bet on India, if I may use that terminology. That bipartisan support, actually, I have personally witnessed from 1997 when I started off as a Hill officer here. Coming to the present, I think the letter, if you look at the content of the letter, you can see the warmth and the depth of that invitation. And that invitation has been signed by the top 4 leaders. Actually, Prime Minister of India will be the first leader in independent India to address the US Congress twice. And while doing so, he will join the top ranks of people like Nelson Mandela, Churchill, the Israeli Prime Minister. So it is indeed very significant. And in my conversations with many of the congressmen and senators, I can certainly tell you that there is a lot of excitement amongst them. They want to hear about the India story, and they want to hear about Prime Minister's vision and his thinking. The transformation to the tech partnership, which in fact today itself we have the US NSA, Jake Sullivan in India, and he has spoken about it. This is a real transformation. So when I said historic and substantive, apart from so many other aspects, this is one of the most critical parts. And it reflects 15 years ago, we just wouldn't have thought about it. But today, we are talking about the stuff which was unimaginable if one was looking back at 1997, even 2000, or even after that. So this is going to be a very key element. And in this, as you are witnessing that critical and emerging technologies, I spoke about technology, digital, startup, innovation, the interconnection. But now we are talking about critical and emerging technologies. And that includes AI, that includes semiconductors, quantum, 5G, 6G, telecom, etc., etc. So that actually technology cuts across different areas. And technology also reflects the trust and confidence between the two sides. And therefore, I think this aspect is the one which is going to really show the deepening of our relationship. The diaspora, the Indian Americans have been an important pillar of this bilateral relationship. You are aware that we have more than 4 million Indian Americans here. And in addition, we have 200,000 Indian students. And most of these, 2/3 of these, are in STEM areas. So actually, they bring value and competitive edge to United States economy. And we are very proud of their achievement. Our Prime Minister has often interacted with them, has said it many times, going back to Madison Square Garden in 2014, which I had the honor to see by my own eyes. I think the important aspect of Indian Americans in this visit, you will see that there is a huge demand, and a large number of them you will see at the White House ceremonial, you will see in the US Congress, you will see them at other events. All in all, I think if you look at any of the boards today, any of the CEOs, different companies, administration, think tanks, universities, you will see prominent Indian Americans occupying important seats. And that's the success of the diaspora, and we feel proud of that.